Welcome to This Week in BJJ, the only show running the gamut of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and running it live every Friday night.
Hello and welcome to a new episode of This Week in BJJ. Today is October 26th. I'm your host, Budo Jake, here as usual with Budo Dane. We're here to talk to you about all the latest news in the BJJ world, so you don't have to go around looking different places to catch up. We'll get you caught up here. Dane, how's your week going?
My week is actually going really well. I wasn't feeling well last week, but now I came back full force, and it was good to get back training.
Yeah, I've come back to training too. I was pretty bummed. You know, I really wanted to do the Masters and Seniors Worlds. I like to support the IBJJF events, especially new ones that come out like that. But I got injured right before, so I wasn't able to do that. And I was hoping I'd be good enough to do the NoGi Worlds, but it looks like it's not going to happen. So pretty bummed, but
yeah, I mean, the NoGi Worlds tends to be like one of our favorite events too.
Exactly, that's my favorite one of the year to participate in. But anyway, it's good to at least be back on the mats and training. Yeah,
definitely. How's it feeling when you're training?
You know, it got to the point where my doctor would probably recommend I don't train, but mentally it gets to a point where I'd rather train and risk further injury than just stay on the mat, off the mats.
Yeah, I mean, I talked to my doctor. He's like, you know, you should take it easy on exercise, and I'm like, so just drilling then?
I went and saw my chiropractor. He's like, you know, you probably shouldn't be training, but I'm sure you are.
You're like, no, yeah.
Because jiu-jitsu has so many benefits. You know, it's not just fitness. It's you know, it's a release.
Right.
It keeps you mentally stable.
Well, it's weird because I realize how much of my day is kind of centered around, you know, I'm going to train now, and so that I get this sense that I need to get everything done before I train so that I'm ready to go by training. And then if I'm not training or take a break from training, I'm like, I can get done later, and then inevitably nothing gets done.
Right. And I think we train about the same amount, about 4 times a week?
Yeah.
Are you happy with that amount, or would you like to train more?
I mean, in a perfect world, I'd train morning and night, but, you know, having a job, yeah, 4 nights a week is actually really good for me. If
you just got rid of the job, got rid of the girlfriend, you'd have a lot more time.
That's so good.
You ever thought about doing that?
Right now, actually. I'm considering it right now. If you guys can give me a second to take a call.
Before we get into the news, there's something I'd like to talk about. You've been hearing me talk about this for the past month or so. It's ahi tuna jerky. This stuff, man, I've been eating a lot of this lately. I've even skipped a meal and just made a meal out of this stuff. It's made from Japanese sashimi-grade ahi tuna. It's high in protein, high in DHA, low in fat, and most importantly, tastes delicious. For a limited time, you can save 10% buying it on Itsumo Ahi Jerky or BudoVideos.com. Use coupon code BudoVideos.
And if I may, we talked about this earlier, but I would warn you to keep it away from your dogs, because my lady left her bag of the jerky in her gym bag, and came back from the restroom to find her dog like head deep in her bag, rooting through her gis, trying to get at the bag of jerky. So be careful.
Yeah, it's good stuff. So we got some interesting news this week. There's been some interesting displays on subways and trains around the world.
That's the most polite way I've ever heard it stated.
This first clip involves a guy demonstrating his martial arts skills on a subway in New York. And I'm not going to say too much about this. I'm just going to let you watch it. But interesting way of handling the potential fight here. Who would think there'd be a guy on the subway with a katana?
I mean, I used to carry one for years, and that never happened, so I just left it at home. Luckily, he decided to ride the metro with his katana.
But hey, that wasn't an intimidating weapon. And did you see the guy almost try to grab it away from him?
Right. I love it, the fact that the camera, you can almost see the guy with the camera going like, oh, this crazy beatdown's going down. And all of a sudden you see it jerk to his right, because you know he was sitting there going, is that a sword? Right. And I guess if you want to film anything, it's the dude with the sword on the subway.
That's right.
So speaking of okay, so Jake, you've ridden the subway, yeah?
Yeah, lots.
Have you ever had any like ruckus stories or any like happenings on the subway?
There's been a couple times I've dealt with drunks, but it never really got physical.
Right. I mean, I've been there. You know, there's the loud, rowdy guy, but Sean Davari out there in Minneapolis, he is a pro wrestler, former WWE wrestler. He actually had the problem to deal with a drunk guy, a rowdy guy, and we have a few pictures for that. But one would think, who would suspect if, you know, something like that were going down, all of a sudden this buff pro wrestler would jump out of nowhere. But Sean came out, saw this guy, and you see him in the video take off his jacket, get up, and decide to handle business. And I don't want to say too much about it, but let's watch the video for this one. So you can see that Sean in the highlighted area there, and that gentleman by the door is
the crazy guy.
He's the crazy. And there he is in a close-up in his fabulous orange jumper, obviously in county jail. Apparently he was threatening people, and then this gentleman comes with a bike and said, "Excuse me, sir, I'd like to park my bike over in the bike rack." And the drunk gentleman ended up giving him trouble, yelling, comes around. Finally, someone else on the train says that, you know, why don't you just sit down and shut up? And you'll see he turns around and starts screaming. And eventually he starts screaming, apparently, "I'm going to kill you."
And here comes Sean getting ready, taking off his jacket.
Jacket off.
Rear naked choke.
And comes straight to the rear naked choke.
Taking care of business.
Both hooks in. So this begs the question, do you think he's cross-trained a little bit?
Well, to me, pro wrestling is real, so I don't think he needs cross-training.
How awesome would it be if he did a proper Hulk Hogan-style body slam?
Right.
Get out of here.
So apparently, this is all surveillance footage, so the cops were aware of everything that was going on, and they came and picked up the sad guy.
and I read the TMZ article. Apparently, the cops came like 9 minutes later, and when they originally approached him, they thought he was the victim, and eventually they figured out, oh wait, this guy was the assailant. He got the crap beaten out of him. So go Minneapolis PD for getting to the bottom of that case.
Good job, Sean. Thanks for taking care of business there.
So, Jake, what do you have over there?
I forgot to introduce our third guest tonight. It's Hitachi no, which is a Japanese beer. I lived in Japan for a few years, so I've tried most of the things, but somehow this one has stayed off my radar. I'm looking forward to trying this. This is their Nest beer. It's a white ale, which white ales are one of my favorites too. So this is from Ibaraki, Japan. What do you say we give this a shot?
I would love to. Do you know what Ibaraki is?
Yeah.
Where's in relative to Tokyo?
South of Tokyo.
South of Tokyo? Yeah. So more towards Kyoto?
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Cheers.
Cheers. That's actually really nice.
Yeah. That's great. I think we're going to get along very well, Hitachi no.
Let's be friends.
So there's a couple IBJJF tournaments last weekend. The first one was the European Open NoGi Championship. And I'd like to run through a list of the winners. In the featherweight division was Max Campos, lightweight, Theodoro Canal, middleweight, Michael Langhi, medium heavy, Eduardo Rios, heavy, Dimitri Souza, super heavy, Bernardo Faria, Thiago Borges took the ultra heavyweight, and Bernardo Faria won the open class. He closed it out with his teammate Dimitri Souza. The team trophy went to Gracie Baja. So nice work by Bernardo Faria with the double gold there.
And that's Victor and Braulio Stima kind of heading up Gracie Baja in London, right?
Yep, I think they help a lot with the organization of that tournament.
And then we had...
Actually, before that,
right,
we're going to cut to a break. We'll be right back with some news from another tournament that took place last weekend.
BudoVideos.com, in association with the International Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu Federation, bring you the 2012 World Jiu-Jitsu NoGi Championships. To accommodate the overwhelming interest to compete, this event is now a two-day affair, and BudoVideos.com will be bringing it to you live with our exclusive and groundbreaking multi-mat technology. Every match will be shown. That's 2 full days, 8 hours a day on 10 mats. You do the math. The 2012 NoGi World Championships, broadcasting live November 3rd and 4th, exclusively at BudoVideos.com.
So, Dane, there was one other tournament last weekend. What one was that?
We had the IBJJF London International Open, and with the results,
This was a gi tournament.
This is a gi tournament. Was it on the same weekend? It must have been.
Same weekend, yeah.
Right. So we had Maximiliano Campos, who won the featherweight, Gabriel Fuentes, who won the lightweight division, Michael Lenke, who won the middleweight division. Michael coming out hard, right?
Yeah.
Lucio Dos Santos with the medium heavy division, Demetrius Sousa, again, with the heavyweight division, Igor Silva with the ultra heavyweight division, Machias Ribeiro with the open class, and again, Gracie Baja won the team trophy.
I'm glad to see that Jiu-Jitsu seems to be doing really well in Europe.
Definitely.
IBJJF seems to be having a lot more tournaments there, and I think that's important that Jiu-Jitsu spreads worldwide. You know, people often talk about the possibility of Jiu-Jitsu in the Olympics, and you know, it's just not international enough. There's a lot of guys, of course, in Brazil, and now America, Japan's coming up, but it really needs to spread, and it's proof positive that it is spreading by the increase in tournaments in Europe.
In a way, it's kind of counterintuitive, right? Because you think Portugal, Portuguese, you know, they at least share, the languages are similar. You think it would be a natural fit, right?
Right.
Though the European Open, right, has been in Lisbon, Portugal.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I guess there's that. But yeah, in order for it to, I think for Jiu-Jitsu to grow, it really needs to be able to cross a lot more cultures.
Right, for sure.
So coming up, we had a great and much sought-after event in Budo Happenings, which was the Marcelo Garcia rolled-up episode. I know, Jake, you had a great time filming that one.
Yeah, and people have been asking for this for so long. When we were in New York, we filmed 3 episodes. We filmed with Alliance New York, we filmed with Sambo Steve, and we filmed with Marcelo Garcia. And you know, it took a while for it to come out, and
right.
Marcelo obviously has a lot of fans, and people were really waiting for this, and it came out really well. You know, I think we got to know a little bit more about Marcelo. We got a nice interview with his wife, talking about what goes into supporting a world champion, which he obviously does a great job at. And then he taught some nice techniques from butterfly guard, and then we had a ridiculous roll.
Yeah, that roll looked like it was pretty tough, huh?
Yeah, it was, and I learned a lot from it. You know, particularly about NoGi grips.
Right.
You can see once he got the grip, it was over right from the beginning. I could never break his grip. And if you've watched it, then you've seen at the end where he shows me what I should have done, and we've done some of this in training. And you really almost have to strike your opponent. You have to break that grip. You can't move in if your opponent has the grip.
Right. So would you say your takeaway from that episode was definitely the grip game in NoGi?
The grip game, and on both sides. On the bottom, how important it is to keep it, and how easily you can take someone's back with it, which he showed numerous times, and how important it is on the top to break the grip before you move in, because grip breaking with gi versus no gi is so different.
Right, and I remember, like, one of the things when I transitioned, because I started out at the NoGi school, when I transitioned into gi, one of the things is I tried to forget about, just like ignore grips, and the reality came crashing down that you can't do that. It's funny to see that lesson almost, you know, swing backwards, where you have someone that's really kind of perfected the grip game in NoGi.
Yeah, for sure.
Cool. So be sure to go and check that out on our YouTube channel, Budo Videos on YouTube, and you can watch that up. Also, coming up, we have the NoGi Worlds on November 3rd and 4th. We will be there both days. Our commentary crew will be there for both days, so Sean, Caleb, and our own Budo Jake. You can buy a 2-day pass. It's coming up for $19.95, and you get the replay for free. You'll get all the mats for all the time. If a match is happening, you'll be shown it, and we will also, there's also a deal with a NoGi hoodie, so go check that out. On the roster is David Avellan, Cyborg Abreu, JT Torres, Keenan Cornelius, DJ Jackson, Pablo Popovich, Lloyd Irvin, who we'll have on the show next week, Lucas Lepri, Augusto Tanquino Mendez, Rafael Davato Jr., Bernardo Faria, and Rodrigo Comprido Medeiros.
Yeah, those are just some of the guys. There's certainly going to be more. The deadline is tomorrow night, so more guys will certainly be signing up. But it's going to be a great event taking place at the Long Beach Pyramid. Let's take a look at a clip here.
BudoVideos.com, in association with the International Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu Federation, bring you the 2012 World Jiu-Jitsu NoGi Championships. To accommodate the overwhelming interest to compete, this event is now a 2-day affair, and BudoVideos.com will be bringing it to you live with our exclusive and groundbreaking multi-mat technology. Every match will be shown. That's 2 full days, 8 hours a day on 10 mats. You do the math. The 2012 NoGi World Championships, broadcasting live November 3rd and 4th, exclusively at BudoVideos.com.
You know, with so many of the IBJJF events closing early due to being over capacity, it's nice to see that this one was extended for 2 days, and it hasn't closed early, so there's still a little bit of time for you guys that want to compete in this event.
Yeah, get up at it. We Jake and I did it last year, and it's a really fun event. Especially I try to make it my one event where I go to the big stage. I'm not going to do it this year, but I enjoy NoGi, but I think it's a good experience overall to do.
For sure, for sure. One other thing I'd like to talk about today is from our friends at NoGi.com. There's a special promotion going. If you spend $100 or more at NoGi.com, you get a free Vines hoodie. That's normally around $40 or $50, so it's a good deal. It's only available for a limited time. Go to NoGi.com and check it out. Now let's talk about a couple new products. Our friends at Venom have done very well in the MMA market, sponsor a ton of UFC fighters, and they're starting to get more into jiu-jitsu. They've come out with 3 new gis recently. First one is called the Venom Challenger. This one's a single weave gi. It's only available in white, and it's $119.95. I had a chance to check it out. It's very well made. Now, the second one is called the Venom Competitor. This is also a single weave gi. It comes in white, blue, or black. Price is starting at $149.95. And the last one is the Venom Absolute gi. This is a gold weave, so it's a little bit thicker. It comes in black, white, or blue, and starts at $169.95. These are all pre-shrunk, which I really like the pre-shrunk gis. There's no guessing about how small it's going to get. You try it on, and you know if it's the right size for you or not. One other gi I would like to talk about for our friends that might train at a Gracie Baja school. This is the GB Legacy gi. This is also a gold weave gi, so it's a little bit thicker, but very well made. This one will last through years of abuse. They only made 1,000 of these things, so it's a limited edition item. $189.95 is the price, and you can get it at BudoVideos.com. Okay, guys, don't go anywhere. We're going to be right back with our special guest, AJ Albert.
BudoVideos.com, home of the world's largest selection of quality jiu-jitsu kimonos. Shoyu Roll, Storm, Tatami, Bull Terrier, Venom, and others. Styles from more than 30 top brands in stock and ready to ship. BudoVideos.com. You're only a click away from owning a new gi today.
AJ Albert, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, guys. How's it going?
Good, good. You know, I've known you for a while, but a lot of our viewers might not. Tell us a little bit about how you got started in jiu-jitsu.
I think, you know, I just had an interest in martial arts kind of at a young age. It's funny you guys brought up that pro wrestler guy, because I think one of the reasons why I got into jiu-jitsu was pro wrestling. Just growing up watching that stuff and Bruce Lee movies made me want to do martial arts, but I didn't really try it until I was like out of high school. So me and my friends used to buy Wing Chun books or Bruce Lee books and try the moves and stuff like that. But then when I graduated, I went to a gym, and it was OC kickboxing, and they had Muay Thai, Jeet Kune Do, all that stuff. And I just tried all their classes, and I ended up doing jiu-jitsu there with Kleber, and just kind of ever since then I never stopped training, kind of.
Kleber's a big name in Orange County. I think he was probably the first guy teaching in Orange County.
Yeah, definitely one of the first. I mean, when I started, there was like 2 or 3 gyms in Huntington Beach, including his, and now there's like, you know, probably 20 or whatever.
For the guys that don't know Kleber, can you tell me a little bit about him?
He's from Rio. He's a Gracie Humaita guy. He got his black belt under Hickson and Hoyler. I think he's supposed to be a 5th stripe, 5th degree, but he hasn't gotten that yet. But I mean, he's an admin competitor. I think he won the Pan Ams like 6 or 7 times, and he's just rolling with him is, you know, a really good experience. He's been on the mat and been a black belt longer than I've been training. So, I mean, the guy's been training since he was 6, and when you train with guys like that, they have a feel and understanding of their body that's totally different. So it's one of the benefits of training there is just getting to roll with them and stuff like that. So
yeah, he competes a lot. He's competed at the Masters and Seniors, and I see he's also competing at the NoGi Worlds next weekend. That's awesome.
He had an MMA fight too, I think, last weekend in Canada, and won by rear naked choke. Like, so he's been fighting a lot lately too. So
wow. You're doing some really interesting things with Collegiate JiuJitsu, and I want to talk about that in a minute. But now you are a brown belt.
Oh, yeah.
4 stripes I saw on your belt tonight. Yeah. So how do you feel about the impending black belt?
It's something that I'm excited for, but it's not my main focus. Really, where I'm at kind of in my training, for me, it's just kind of more about my students. Like, if having a black belt means that people will respect my students' gym more for them, that's all I really care about. Being a brown or a black belt, it's like, whatever. You're a brown belt. I think you have 3 or 4 stripes, and I roll with you. And it's kind of, when you're at that level, it's just kind of the next step, really. I'm never going to stop training, so it's just, it'll be awesome to get it. To me, it'll be the biggest achievement in my life. You know, it'll mean more to me than graduating college or anything like that, but when it happens, it happens. So I'm definitely excited for it, though.
Right. And for me, I'm not going to open up a school, so to me the belt doesn't mean much. In fact, you know, competing I'm probably more interested in competing than you are.
Yeah.
Competing at a brown belt is easier than competing at a black belt. But for a guy like you who's teaching, the black belt has a lot of marketing power, doesn't it?
It really does, but I've been teaching for a while now. Like, I've been teaching at UCI for 3 years, and I started with a purple belt, and so it's never seemed to bother any of the students that come in there, but there's always going to be somebody that's like, I'd rather train with a black belt, and that's totally understandable. But for me, my whole training and teaching purpose is for them, whereas if you maybe train with a black belt who's a great competitor, one of the best in the world, sometimes their focus is their training or their competition. And for me, teaching is the most important thing, just because I love jiu-jitsu and want to bring it to other people. So
right. I've trained with some of the best in the world, tons of black belts, but sometimes I see what you're saying. The brown belts sometimes are a little more less distracted, maybe the word is, and sometimes it can definitely teach good things.
Well, I don't know if it was like this where you guys train, but I know at Kleber's, I learned tons from Kleber, but he has like 12 black belts. And so when I was a white belt, blue belt, purple belt, I had Tim Cartmel, Asa Fuller, Bill Tesh, you know, Ali, all these guys that are, you know, Felipe Fogelin, all the guys that they have their own gyms now. So when they were purple and brown belts, they taught me tons when I was like a white and a blue belt. So, you know, learning from upper belts is super important as a part of your game. So,
but being how we're in Southern California with a lot of martial arts all over the place, you have 10-year-old 5th degree black belts and, you know, in other styles. Do you ever get people come in thinking like, dude, why are you teaching? You're only a brown belt.
Sometimes you can tell kids have an attitude, and usually it's a shame, but sometimes it just takes smashing them. Like, to be honest, some people won't respect you until you have to just take them on the mat, and it's like, I don't want to do that, but if you're gonna push me to do that, then okay. But for me, like, I try to just take different approaches when I teach, and a lot of my students are college students, and so I think I have the benefit of teaching people that are there, that are already used to studying, they want to learn, they're not meatheads, and most of them are really good dudes, and then they're learning that they have this physical side where they're already academic, they're already intelligent. And I think jiu-jitsu is really cerebral, and when you see somebody like that learn jiu-jitsu and then discover like, oh, I can fight people, like they're great students. So
let's get into that. You've done some great things with Collegiate JiuJitsu. First of all, are you teaching at a university right now?
So I teach at the University of California, Irvine, and they have an insane facility. I also teach across the street out of a Taekwondo gym. I have my own studio. We call it Valhalla Jiu-Jitsu, but at the university, I've been there for 3 years, and the class was actually started by my friend Gino, who's also a clever black belt. He started when he was like a brown belt. So it's offered as a rec class, but then there's also a club that's separate, and I kind of oversee both of them.
Mm-hmm. With the college classes, I mean, we spoke about this at the Subfighter tournament, but how big are those college classes?
They're pretty big. My class this quarter had 65 people enrolled. Last quarter was 75, and we brought the numbers down this quarter just because it was totally crazy. Like, but the room is really big. It's a huge room with nice, new black mats, and it overlooks a field. It's just like being in college. This facility is like a 24-hour fitness sport kind of, where they have a track and a rock wall and a pool, and you walk in, it's just like, dude, going to school and training jiu-jitsu at a place like that it's $35 for the whole quarter. Jeez. And you can rent your gi there, and it's just like, what more do you want? It's awesome.
I wish my college had jiu-jitsu when I went.
Exactly.
We talked about that. We were almost jealous because imagine if you could grab a rec class and start training jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, totally. One, Dane's saying we've been talking. I've been seeing Dane at every tournament, and at these other tournaments I've been going to, like we were at the Sub Fighter tournament on Sunday. I saw you at the Samurai tournament, and at those tournaments, all these guys that are from jiu-jitsu clubs were competing. So Long Beach had a team at Sub Fighter, and some of their guys are really good. I think a bunch of their students took first at Sub Fighter, and at the Samurai tournament, one of the president of the UCLA club, I think Dohan, he's a purple belt, he won his division and fought in the absolute. So you have people that are really interested in jiu-jitsu, and they're at school, so they don't have tons of money to do all these big tournaments, but they're avid competitors. So it's they need a place to go, kind of a thing.
So you've been a big force in organizing collegiate jiu-jitsu. Tell me first about what's the state of collegiate jiu-jitsu in the U.S.
It's non-existent until we had one tournament between 4 schools, and it went really well. We're just trying to get organized. I recently got an email from another kid who was trying to do the same thing, and he obviously had no idea that we had one tournament because he emailed me and said, hey, I'm up north and we're trying to find schools to compete with. And I was like, well, we had a tournament, so now we have like 9 schools involved instead of 4. But it took a lot of other people to help, and just one of my friends, Chris Starks, really helped me put everything together. And a lot of people want to do this, so it's just kind of like finding the people that are like, oh, I had that idea too, and then just getting the ball rolling.
Are the schools that are involved right now all based in Southern California?
Most of them. Now there's some Northern California ones too, and so that's what we're trying to figure out. We're going to have a tournament in November, probably mid-November, and we're trying to find a way to get some of these northern schools down, but it'll probably have to start just locally with kind of SoCal and grow. But really what we're trying to promote is people all over to just start a club. So a lot of schools don't know that their schools, one, either have a jiu-jitsu club, or if they don't, they can start one, they can get funding, they can do all kinds of stuff like that. So it's really important if you train to just get a club started at your school.
BudoVideos.com, in association with the International Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu Federation, bring you the 2012 World Jiu-Jitsu NoGi Championships. To accommodate the overwhelming interest to compete, this event is now a 2-day affair, and BudoVideos.com will be bringing it to you live with our exclusive and groundbreaking multi-mat technology. Every match will be shown. That's 2 full days, 8 hours a day on 10 mats. You do the math. The 2012 NoGi World Championships, broadcasting live November 3rd and 4th, exclusively at BudoVideos.com.
What was your experience in starting the club? You started at UC Irvine?
Yeah.
What was your experience in starting that club at UC Irvine?
Well, I had already taught there, and then I actually transferred there. So once I became a student, it was like, okay, let's get the club started. And it just started as like a campus organization. You go to the people that run the campus organizations. You can start any kind of club you want. There's anime clubs and metal club or whatever. Right. So we just started the jiu-jitsu one, but then to compete, you have to go through the club sports program too. And so really it was just a lot of emailing and do we need insurance and all that, kind of just digging through paperwork. And like I said, a lot of people helped me. The people that were the club officers kind of just went to work trying to figure out how to get it going. But it's not that complicated, really. You just need a couple people. I think the amount of people you need to start a club is like 8 or 9. So just find your friends that train and be like, start a club, and then slowly build on it.
So say there's a guy out there listening right now that might be a jiu-jitsu instructor near a university, and he would like to start a club. How would that process work?
For an instructor, if he wasn't a student, it might be a little complicated.
So you pretty much have to be a student.
Well, see, it depends if the bigger schools like the UCs and the Cal States. I taught at Fullerton too. any school that has like a rec center and they offer rec classes, those can usually be taught by outside people. Once students start a club, they can hire, if they have money or if they have funds, whatever they raise, they can hire an instructor to come in. So really, if an instructor outside wanted to come in, he would just have to kind of make links with schools and stuff like that. I know when I was teaching at Fullerton, I had to leave. I just couldn't commute that far from Irvine. When I left, I wanted to find somebody that was in the area, a really good instructor, and I got in contact with Eric Paulson. They hired Eric Paulson to teach at Fullerton, and so most of the kids don't even know that you can take a NoGi class either with Eric or with Eric's brown belt or even any of his guys that are there at Fullerton. And so for instructors, it is a good idea because, you know, you got the students at the school eventually want to come train with you at your gym too. So if you can find a school by your gym that needs a program built up, it's a good idea to have somebody like that take charge.
That's a good point. It's not just the revenue that you're going to make teaching or your students going to make teaching at the university. It's funneling those guys over your
You're not going to make a lot teaching at the university. It's the business. If you want to look at it from a business side, there'll be people that want to train with you, and that's kind of you're allowed to do that. So.
Right. So they take the class. After the class is over, then they probably move over to your academy.
Yeah, and if they had a good experience, I mean, you never know how it's going to go.
I mean, if it's a quarter, you think how long? That's the longest promotion ever, right?
Yeah. Well, and you know, quarter's like 10 weeks, and 10 weeks of jiu-jitsu or whatever the prices are. Most of them, it is like $35. You're not going to find that at a gym that's so cheap. And to have even a purple belt, brown belt, black belt. I think Long Beach and LA, they have really good black belt coaches, and Fullerton's got, you know, Eric Paulson's guys over there, but they don't have a club. So all the people that are students at Fullerton, you guys need to start a club so that they compete with the other schools. They can't until they have like an official student club.
So give me the big picture. What are you working towards?
You know, I just would like to see jiu-jitsu spread. I think it would be rad to have it in high schools and the Olympics like people want, but it's going to take a while. But if you could go to school and get a scholarship for jiu-jitsu or something like that, that would just be totally awesome. For people that train, it's kind of all you want to do anyway. So I just think that college students deserve an avenue to compete where it's not so political and so money-driven that it's just about the love of the sport kind of a thing. And so we've been lucky to have companies get involved, like BudoVideos sponsored our first tournament. You guys gave us really good prize money. So our tournament was free for the people to compete. We had 60 competitors, and there was gift cards to BudoVideos. Jiu-Jitsu Magazine helped out. And so I think something like this is a good avenue aside from kind of the normal jiu-jitsu political or whatever you want to call it, where there's a lot of money involved and there's a lot of people that could go either way, but all those people still love the sport itself, and I think there needs to be something where it's kind of just about that.
Yeah, a lot of college students can't afford to travel across the country.
Yeah, totally. And so you're a college student, you're a white belt, you train 2 days a week at a university with white belts and blue belts, and then you pay $115 to do an IBJJF tournament, fight once and lose. So that's kind of like a bummer for them. They don't get any tournament experience, but you know, there are smaller tournaments coming up where you're getting these round robin, you know, competitions and stuff like that. And the big tournaments need to be there. They're great. And a lot of the students are good enough to do them, but there's the average guy that doesn't want to try it, and they need an outlet. Yeah. But also just building up club sports. Like wrestling's kind of dying out in America, and I think that sucks. Like wrestling's an awesome sport, and you would think with how popular MMA is, somebody could breathe life back into wrestling programs. But I really think the real issue is jiu-jitsu is so popular and is growing that someone needs to capitalize on that and make that the new collegiate thing. Like I think it could pick up in America as opposed to just being wrestling still big in Iowa or whatever. I think jiu-jitsu would be huge across the state if you could get the right people organizing the tournaments and stuff like that.
For sure. Now, you're about the only guy I know that's so into this issue of collegiate jiu-jitsu. Is there anybody else that you know?
Just the people that have contacted me, like the other club guys. I was telling Asa about doing this when I first thought about doing it, and he said that someone had tried it before, but I haven't heard anything from anybody else, really. Just the other students, and really it's the people that are involved. Like you guys said, oh, I wish I could have done that. It's kind of in retrospect, or it would be nice to do that, and I don't see why there isn't college competition component for it. So
what do you think are some barriers to entry that need to be like smoothed out or removed?
we have to somehow form some kind of league or an association. I'm sure there's got to be some kind of federation backing behind whatever we're doing. And so I know that with college sports, you have to have the governing bodies that control all college sports adopt your sport. So I think lacrosse is still not a complete college sport like the, you know. So really it's just being, if it gets big enough, it'll go somewhere. If not, then it'll just be a fun local thing. But either way, it's fun organizing, and it's fun to just provide places for people to compete and train and stuff like that. And I've met really cool people, and now when I go to other tournaments, like, oh, that's the dude from Long Beach, or, you know, it's just kind of growing that jiu-jitsu world in a way where you're surrounding yourself with people that are like-minded, that just love the sport wholly, and that's it.
For the guys out there that might be watching, they might be white belts, they might not have any rank. Do you think they should take that step into forming a club, or should they not and join just join?
I think if they start it, then it's kind of like if you build it, they will come kind of thing. I know one of the clubs has been started by white belts up north, and but it's going to grow, and it is growing. So they'll get higher belts that are coming in. I think they just got a purple belt, and now they got a black belt that wants to come in and teach for them and stuff like that. So it is like a magnet. If you get the word out, and with the internet and all that stuff, we have like a Facebook page, and tons of people that aren't even go to school there look at it, because we're always posting techniques or having kind of like, oh, let's train this, and now, or this tournament's coming up. You can really use social media to your advantage and get people involved. And with the whole instructors being able to funnel students into their schools, you can attract people that are high level guys, you know?
Right. Even if you have no rank and you are training at some outside academy, it's still a good idea to start a club and do both.
Exactly. Yeah, it's more mat time. So like in Irvine, I've just tried to make a lot of opportunities for you to train. So if they can afford it, they can do the rec class, which is 2 days a week. And then if you join the club, there's club training, which is 2 days a week. So it's 4 days of training. And then my gym is across the street from the school, and we have 3 days a week training, and there's college student discounts. So if you can do all that, you can train 7 days a week while going to school. So it's like, it's all in that area. And not every program is going to be like that, but you at least get 2 to 4 days of training at more than half of what a gym would cost.
Right.
So, I mean, jiu-jitsu is getting more popular, and that just makes it more and more expensive. And the bigger gyms that are popping up out here, it used to be like when I was a blue belt, oh, we're going to go to Brazil. Or when you're white belt, guys went to like Brazil like it was Mecca, but there's no need to go now. It's like, I'm just going to go to LA, or I'm going to go to San Diego and train with Andre Galvao or Cobrina or whatever. You don't need to go to Brazil as much anymore. So it's just about taking advantage of how hot jiu-jitsu is right now in America.
I mean, as an anecdote, I was talking to my friend Matt, and we were at another tournament, and I met up with him. I hadn't seen him for years, but he'd actually moved to Oregon. I think he's going to college in Oregon. I don't know if he's reading, but one of the smaller colleges. He started and he was a blue belt, and he started a campus group just to find training partners.
Yeah.
So it doesn't necessarily mean, from what I get what you're saying, it doesn't mean create a college competition team or nothing, but he just created a group just to find enough people to compete, to train with.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's like some people, when they're at school, I can't afford to go to my gym anymore. So a lot of these students have experience, but they quit going to whatever gym they were at because they can't afford to go to school, maybe work and train. So that's something. When I was at junior college, it was kind of like there was an Aikido class. They have mats, so if you started a club, even there, you could probably use the mats. And I was thinking, like, the best way to go about it is just to get a piece of paper that has your phone number, you know, notched off, like if you're looking for a roommate, and be like, looking for training partners, want to start a club, post it up on the bulletin boards around school, and you'll get people that want to train.
For sure.
Have you gotten any pushback from other like martial arts clubs at school, or is it all?
You know, not really. And UCI's programs are crazy. They have like 20 martial arts classes at the where I teach. So there's like, they just added Muay Thai, and they have Wing Chun, they have karate, they have Iaido and Kempo, and it's the kids there love martial arts, and all the classes are usually full. The Taekwondo class is huge. And so if they can have a jiu-jitsu class with 70 students, a Taekwondo class with 70 students, I mean, it's endless possibilities if you provide, and there's a budget for it, you know. So none of the other clubs have really butted heads with us. It's more the school is kind of like, are you guys going to be punching each other or doing MMA or anything? Like, stuff like that is where it gets a little sketchy. even though they'll have Muay Thai and they'll have Jiu-Jitsu, if you were like, I want to have an MMA class, to be like, we're not doing that.
That's the thing. It seems like BJJ as a martial art would be a much easier sell than like an MMA class.
Totally. Well, it's interesting to me, you know, I think some people would cringe at the idea of teaching jiu-jitsu to high school students or something like that, but you allow them to play football, which is incredibly more dangerous, and let alone the antics that football players get involved in, period, of just being kind of hellraisers or whatever it is. I would think jiu-jitsu would be something that would help students grow as individuals when they're at that age. Like, it changed my life. Like,
right.
You hear people say that, and most people have their own kind of story, like, oh, once I did jiu-jitsu. I really think jiu-jitsu's made me a better person and taught me things. I think all martial arts can teach you like discipline or things like that, but jiu-jitsu has principles that are fundamental to the art itself, like just adapting or whatever. So I might like to play my guard, but you're not going to let me play guard, so I have to go with the flow. And that's something that like you can learn from a physical experience and then put it into your life and helps you grow as a person or whatever. But I think that kind of would help high school students too, and it's not a dangerous thing. It's safe.
Would you say tapping itself is a lesson?
Totally. That's your first lesson, is tapping. That's what I tell all the white belts that come in, and it's kind of your first lesson is to learn how to tap, because I remember when I was a white belt, somebody put me in an arm lock one time, and I was like, why is he not letting go? And I was like, oh yeah, I have to tap out.
Right.
You kind of have to learn to like not let yourself get hurt.
That's a good point, and I think some instructors might forget that.
Oh yeah,
like you see some students like tapping the ground, or if they're not given any instruction of how to tap, like they might not tap at all, like yourself.
Well, and you train for so long, it's second nature, and you watch people do. It's like, why is he doing that? Or someone will do something wild on the mat, and you're just like, I don't know why you would even consider doing that, but it's like it's just like anything else. He has no idea. So you got to be patient with people, and I think a good thing to learn when you're teaching is like, you have to strip it back down to the basics. Like, and I think teaching helps your jiu-jitsu a lot, because one, you don't want to look bad. So it's like, oh, I showed an armbar wrong or whatever. But you really want to make sure they have a full understanding of it. So it's like you study the move even harder than you did when you were kind of training to just be the tough blue belt in your gym or whatever. So it's interesting.
A lot of people talk about growth through competition.
Yeah.
I know you're not too much into competition.
I mean, I have competed. I suck at it. That's why I'm not into it. It's just not enjoyable. But I did learn every time I competed, even when I lost. And you can see it, like guys that compete when they're white belts or whatever, and even if they just got destroyed, it's like when they come back on the mat, they're better. It's like they just figured something out in their subconscious or something, and they did grow from it. And I think there's tons of things that can make you grow. Mm-hmm. And competition is definitely one of them. I'm a fan of promoting competition, but myself, I'm just not into competing.
Mm-hmm. And for you're seeing a lot of growth through teaching.
Oh, for sure. And I think anybody that I know who's started teaching, they've gotten better at jiu-jitsu and just exploring moves and learning. And it makes you open up to your students question you, and they have really great insights. We're like, I didn't even think of that. So it's kind of like, the more you put yourself out there, you meet more people, you learn more, and you're inevitably going to get better.
One last message to all the college students who might be watching.
I think you just need to find a way to train as much as you can and promote it yourself. Like, don't wait for somebody else to do it. If you want to start a club, do it. Go out and do it. This whole thing is only going to work if everybody puts out. So if you want it to happen, make it happen. And if you want to compete with other colleges, get involved. If you want to contact me, you can look me up, AJ Albert, on Facebook, or we have a Facebook page, UCI-Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and my email is UCIBJJ@gmail.com. If you have questions about collegiate training or getting a club started at your school, go ahead and contact me. Or the best thing to do is just to Google search your school and then jiu-jitsu and see if a club pops up, because they probably have a website already and you just didn't even know it.
Very good. Now, AJ, we're going to go to the mats. What are you going to show for us tonight?
I think I'm going to show an armbar from like the knee shield or the quarter half.
Okay, so very good. Don't go anywhere, guys. We're going to be right back on the mats with AJ Albert.